The United States, as the world's largest economy, has encountered a series of devastating economic crises throughout its history. Despite the magnitude of these setbacks, the U.S. has consistently demonstrated a remarkable ability to recover, evolving and strengthening after each disaster. From the Great Depression of 1929 to the global financial crisis of 2008, the nation has not only survived but has used these crises as stepping stones for future growth. So, how has the U.S. managed to rise above some of the most severe economic storms in history? The tale begins in 1929, when the U.S. was struck by the Great Depression, which remains one of the most devastating economic disasters of the 20th century. The crisis began with the infamous stock market crash on what is now known as Black Tuesday. The stock market's collapse caused the loss of billions of dollars in a matter of days, and the ripple effect spread across the economy, leading to the bankruptcy of thousands of businesses and banks. Unemployment skyrocketed, reaching an all-time high of 25%, with millions of Americans unable to find work. Many families were plunged into poverty, relying on government-provided food assistance to survive. Shantytowns, often referred to as Hoovervilles, sprang up across the country, symbolizing the widespread despair of the time. Despite the severity of the situation, the United States refused to give in to hopelessness. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who took office in 1933, introduced the New Deal, a series of radical and transformative policies aimed at combating the Depression. Roosevelt's administration focused on relief, recovery, and reform, which reshaped the American economy and provided direct help to the millions who were suffering. The government distributed food and provided shelter to those in need, and millions of jobs were created through public works projects. Under Roosevelt's vision, iconic infrastructure projects like bridges, highways, and hydroelectric dams were built, providing employment while modernizing the country's infrastructure. The New Deal policies not only helped revitalize the economy but also restored the American people's trust in their government, providing them with a sense of hope for a better future. Fast forward to the 1970s, when the U.S. found itself in another economic crisis, this time driven by geopolitical factors. The oil crisis of the 1970s began in 1973, when the Yom Kippur War broke out in the Middle East. In response to the U.S. government's support of Israel during the war, OPEC, Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, imposed an oil embargo on the United States, drastically reducing the amount of oil exported to the country. As a result, oil prices quadrupled, leading to severe economic consequences. Energy-dependent industries were hit hard, inflation surged, and the American standard of living began to decline. To cope with the crisis, the U.S. government realized the necessity of reducing its dependence on foreign oil. In the following years, it made substantial investments in renewable energy projects, such as solar and wind power. At the same time, the automobile industry was encouraged to design more fuel-efficient vehicles in order to lessen the nation's reliance on oil. While the crisis left the U.S. economy struggling, these investments laid the foundation for future innovations in energy, helping the nation achieve greater energy independence and pushing it toward a more sustainable future. By the turn of the 21st century, the U.S. was once again facing an economic collapse, but this time the crisis stemmed from within its own financial system. The global financial crisis of 2008, one of the worst economic downturns since the Great Depression. When the housing market began to decline, these borrowers defaulted on their loans, leading to a cascade of foreclosures and bankruptcies. Major financial institutions, including Lehman Brothers, were hit hard, and the crisis spread throughout the global financial system. As in past crises, the United States did not simply wait for the storm to pass. The federal government took decisive action, passing multi-trillion-dollar bailout packages to provide liquidity to struggling banks, prop up corporations that were too big to fail, and help create jobs. The Federal Reserve slashed interest rates to near zero and implemented unconventional monetary policies, such as quantitative easing, in order to stimulate economic growth. These measures, though controversial, ultimately helped the U.S. economy recover from the crisis and prevent a depression. One of the most important lessons that the U.S. learned from the 2008 financial crisis was the necessity of strong oversight of financial markets. In response, the government enacted new regulations, including the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act, which gave regulatory bodies more power to monitor the activities of banks and other financial institutions. The goal was to prevent the kinds of risky behaviors that led to the collapse of the housing market and the ensuing financial chaos. Along with these regulatory changes, the crisis prompted Americans to reassess their personal financial habits. There was a renewed focus on the importance of responsible spending, saving, and managing debt. Many people, having seen the devastating impact of the economic downturn, began to prioritize financial stability and long-term planning. Despite the severe toll that these crises have taken on the U.S. economy, each one has also served as a catalyst for transformation. The Great Depression led to the creation of a robust social safety net, as well as new financial regulations that helped stabilize the banking system. The oil crisis of the 1970s sparked investments in alternative energy and the development of more fuel-efficient vehicles. The 2008 financial crisis forced the U.S. to reevaluate its financial systems and policies, paving the way for stronger regulations and a more resilient economy. These instances of economic adversity have shaped the U.S. into a global economic powerhouse. However, it is not simply the size of the economy that makes the United States a leader on the world stage. It is the nation's ability to learn from its past mistakes, innovate in times of crisis, and adapt to the changing global landscape. The U.S. has repeatedly demonstrated its capacity for resilience, showing that it can face challenges head-on, learn from them, and emerge even stronger than before. The story of America's economic comebacks offers a profound lesson for the rest of the world. Adversity is inevitable, but it is how we respond to it that determines our future. The ability to bounce back from failure, learn from past mistakes, and innovate in the face of crisis is what sets successful nations apart. America's history of overcoming economic hardship is a testament to the power of resilience, adaptability, and the pursuit of progress. Ultimately, the U.S. stands as a model for other nations facing economic challenges. While the road to recovery has often been long and difficult, each crisis has strengthened the American economy and provided invaluable lessons. By maintaining its unyielding determination and never succumbing to despair, the U.S. has not only survived its economic setbacks but has turned them into opportunities for growth and renewal. The journey of economic recovery is far from over, but one thing is clear: the U.S. will continue to rise, no matter how many times it falls. In the end, the most admirable quality of the United States is not merely its ability to weather economic storms, but its unbreakable resolve to emerge from them stronger and more united. The lessons learned from past crises will continue to shape the future, and the U.S. will undoubtedly remain a symbol of revival and a benchmark for overcoming adversity in the global economy. So, as we reflect on these transformative moments in American history, we can draw inspiration from the resilience that has allowed the country to recover and thrive after each setback. Share your thoughts in the comments, and remember to like and subscribe for more insightful content on the topic of economic growth and recovery.